Episode 103 of the Interpretation Station is called to order. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in particular to my Russian-speaking viewers. I take it if you don't speak Russian, you're probably not going to have the joy and pleasure of watching this episode, but you never know. I know Sterling hasn't got Russian. He might be watching it. Are you watching this one, Sterling? We'll see. He'll tell me in the comments. Guys, we've got a couple of quick statements then today for us to go through from Russian. We're not going to beat around the bush in the intro. The first statement that we've got, it's about, they're both from the Human Rights Council, okay? The first one is from June, and it's about, let's see, meeting with a dialogue special rapporteur, the right of everyone to the highest attainable level of physical and mental health. And then after that, we're going to do another interactive dialogue with the special rapporteur on the rights of persons with disabilities. All right, so let's, we'll get cracking with that first one then here that I'm going to put up on the screen for you. I am going to scuttle away into the corner. I'm sure you don't want to see my big pasty round face anymore than you have to. So let's bring up the text and let's take you through it. So again, I annotated this text some months ago, I guess. And so let's just review what I gave you, what solutions I gave you. Okay, so this expression, that you can see the title of it. This is a sort of set expression, right? Наивысший достижение уровень физического и психического здоровья. The highest attainable level of physical and mental health. Okay, just so that you know, maybe it comes up and you don't quite get it right. No one's going to kill you if you don't quite get the exact wording. But just for FYI, that's the exact wording. The highest attainable level. That's just by itself is a good thing. No, the highest attainable level, not the highest reachable level or whatever. The highest implementable level, so it's the highest attainable. Okay, so Madam President, we studied with interest. Внимательно изучили. That's my sort of stock answer for that, my stock solution. I studied with interest. We studied closely sometimes. The report by Madam Tlaleng Mofokeng. Quick tip to you guys, you sort of more beginners who are entering the trade. If you see a name that looks scary, that you're not quite certain how to pronounce it, the easiest thing or if you can feel it coming, if you know, maybe you haven't got the text in front of you, you can feel that the speaker is about to pronounce a name. Easiest thing to do is just switch off your mic when it comes, and so that the audience hears the pronunciation of the speaker. That way you don't make a fool of yourself. It's the speaker that makes the fool of himself. Okay, we обратили внимание now. We noted the plans of the special rapporteur to make основным стержнем. Okay, so the solution I've given you here is the centerpiece. Now, I guess you could say the focus, the central focus of her activities. And what was that centerpiece? It was изучение понимания колониальности и расизма. So the actual name of this was studying the understanding of coloniality and racism. And I've said here, just bring it in a bit more. Okay, coloniality, the actual word used in the title of the report. So yeah, this seems to be a new buzz phrase at the moment, coloniality, as opposed to just colonialism. Again, if you hear it, there you go. You'll know that you can say just coloniality. I'm not entirely certain of what the exact academic meaning of coloniality is, but I mean, you can more or less guess. Okay, просили бы пояснить. Okay, so what I've given you here, please clarify. So, if you're going to do a word-for-word rendering, you would say, we would ask you to clarify. Now, this was back in June. I guess the chances are it was probably over RSI, probably rubbish sound, those sorts of conditions. Again, so you're looking to really take a lot of shortcuts. So when they have something like this, просили, I often just say, just please clarify. Keep it very simple, right? The more you can compress your own speech, the more time you have to listen to what the original speaker is saying. And that's obviously very important when the sound conditions are bad. You need to be able to somehow, have as much time as you can to just properly digest what the speaker is saying. So please clarify, what country, временными, temporal, to do with time, and other рамками, frameworks or contexts. I've been using contexts a lot lately. I've been transitioning away from frameworks, moving to context. I just prefer the sound in English. Do you plan руководствоваться в работе на данном направлении? So, again, stock solution for руководствоваться for me is to be guided by. But here also you could say to apply. What frameworks do you plan to apply in work in this field? So, if you see that in the context of a sentence, a slightly different solution might apply. And let's face it, it's quicker to say to apply than to be guided by. Then you should use it. Okay, so moving on to the next paragraph. Okay, so in view of the прошлой профессиональной деятельности, so background, in light of the background of Madam Moffaking, and I've put a little asterisk here again, if you use background for деятельности, you could skip прошлый. Right, so if you're talking about someone's background, you don't need to say their past background, do you? Because the background, that's already implicit when you say the background. I mean, again, you can say it, maybe you hear it, you want to say it immediately, the past professional background. But again, it's just to think on you. Sometimes, if you sense a word, if you don't need to say a word, then don't feel like you have to say it. From her background, from her professional background, or, you could just say, you could say the straightforward answer, I guess, would be from her past professional activities, which is also just fine. It's clear, we understand, нам понятно, ее стремление, her wish, her eagerness. Often I'll go with стремление, with aspirations, but I think here it makes a little bit more sense to say her wish or her eagerness to акцентировать внимание, to raise awareness to issues of reproductive health. We're aware of her eagerness to raise awareness of issues of reproductive health. We would like to remind her, что с учетом норм международного права, so here you can just say under international law. You don't need to say in view of the norms of international law. I think here you could just say under international law. Again, same thing as, sometimes, again, you don't need to render every word if what you've already said makes perfect sense. Можно говорить о реализации права, so it's important to have your collocation with rights, the two most obvious ones being exercise and enjoy. So talking of exercising or enjoying rights to reproductive health, so you can speak about exercising the right to reproductive health, but not of sexual rights. Just remove this. Okay. And it's for that reason неуместно выделить в особую категорию. So неуместно, important word. Okay, it's inappropriate is would be my stock solution there. Now here, what does this really mean? Just выделить в особую категорию just means to single out, really. Okay, I don't think, again, you'd need to render the word category. Again, you can if you want, highlight you could say it would be inappropriate to highlight as a special category. It just all depends how you are, perhaps the sound is really bad and you're virtually hanging one word behind the original speaker. So you're almost, to highlight as a special category. And that's okay, but if you're feeling more relaxed, you've got a bit more time, all that essentially means is to single out. Representatives of sexual minorities and подстраивать под них. So I think here, подстраивать под них государственные системы здравоохранения. So that, again, just essentially means to build around them, to structure around them state healthcare systems. Дискриминация неприемлема ни в какой форме, и для всех должны устанавливаться единые стандарты оказания медицинских услуг. Okay, so discrimination is unacceptable in any form, and this is a tricky little phrase here. Для всех должны устанавливать единые стандарты. In English we would probably say if it was an English speaker, he would probably say the same standards should apply to everyone. But when he starts with "Для всех должны," you don't know where the speaker exactly, if you haven't got the text in front of you at least, you don't know where he's going to go exactly. So you need to tweak what you're saying. So "Для всех должны," so you could probably drop the "для" and say, everyone should устанавливаться единые стандарты. Then it becomes clear that, same standards should apply to everyone, but you would say it along these lines, perhaps. Everyone should be subject to the same standards. Or perhaps you could say everyone should enjoy the same standards of provision of medical services. Okay, достаточно провокационным представляется. Again, this is one of these slightly disconcerting Russian sentence openers. You got to really focus on the word, провокационными. That's the key here. And so, the safe bet here is just go within with a what. Okay, you don't know if it's going to be. What is the provocative thing going to be? A single a thing, or is it going to be an action? And so, if you open your sentence with what's rather provocative are. Doing it that way, you can basically put in either a noun or a verb after it, leaves your sort of options open. And so what's provocative? It's a рассуждение декриминализации половых контактов с несовершеннолетними. So рассуждение, I'm giving you notions here, okay? So this is a word, perhaps I'll sometimes talk about musings. It's the idea that they're slightly hypothetical, okay? I would almost say there's a slight, in my experience, pejorative, a sort of negative connotation to when certainly the Russians talk about other delegations, or rapporteurs, рассуждение. It's the idea that they're maybe getting slightly ahead of themselves, okay? So when you say notions, all these notions of theirs, it's just got that element of you're going a bit too far, really. So what's rather provocative are the notions of decriminalising sexual contacts with, again, so you want, to stock alternatives for несовершеннолетними, minors and adolescents. In such circumstances, under such conditions, в определенных условиях, such an approach could be квалифицироваться, could be qualified as, if you want to just play safe, could amount to, could be tantamount to. Признание нормой, so recognizing as the norm, преступления против половой неприкосновенности детей. So recognizing as the norm crimes against the sexual integrity of children. So неприкосновенность, important word. So the safest bet is integrity. Often it'll also talk about sanctity. It might talk about неприкосновенность, суверенитета of a given country, the sanctity of borders, or границ, неприкосновенность границ. So those are two good words to have, okay? Integrity and sanctity. Furthermore, we believe that затронутые в докладе аспекты. So again, the затронутые is sort of acting a bit like a definite article here, like a the. So you can almost really skip it, that the report's references to положение лиц африканского происхождения. So the report's references to the situation of people of African descent. Now, obviously this is one of these compound verb noun expressions, right? So you're hearing the затронутые, and you know already that it's going to be one of these compound sort of packages. So if you want to play safe, you can say that what's noted in the report, namely the aspects. Okay, you can do it that way in Russian, all right? If you that's again, if you're feeling a bit nervous and you want to make sure that you're rendering most words, that's the safe way to go about it. Throw in that what. As soon as you hear that, что затронутые в докладе, the raised in the report aspects or references, whatever. So you can do it, yeah. So so the point is you can either do it the smooth way by just dropping the затронутые, Or when you hear the zatronity, you just want to play safe, make sure you get the zatronity across. You go in with that what the report, what's raised in the report, rather, namely the aspects of the положение. So usually, okay, it's the situation. If it's something negative, it's a negative situation. Sometimes I'll say the plight. Okay, just to jazz things up a bit. Of people of African descent. I'll put an asterisk here as well. An asterisk. Why do I always say asterisks? Full name, people of African descent. The shorter alternative Afro-descendants is also okay. So yeah, you can go. Afro-descendants, I think, is perfectly legitimate solution as well. Because people of African descent can be rather a mouthful. Соблюдение прав на воду и санитарию. I put brackets around the соблюдение because I think here it's a bit redundant, okay? I think because you can say in English, okay, moreover, we think the report's references to the plight of people of African descent, the right to water and health. Okay, so you can say the compliance with the right to water and health, but again, I think that's implicit in what he's saying anyway. So you could just drop, I think, the compliance, the delivering the right to water and health. Жилье и питание. So питание, try and go with nutrition rather than just food. I think nutrition sounds more UNEs, shall we say. Work, education, and a number of they fall within the purview. So odnostka ведению, the purview, the remit, the competence. Those are again an important semantic field to be comfortable with. Of other профильных спецпроцедур Совета. Why have I bracketed the профильных? Okay, because it's talking about council special procedures. So usually when I hear профильные, they talk about профильные агенции ООН, and I'll talk about the specialized UN agencies. But here it would sound like the specialized UN special procedures. You're sort of repeating yourself rather, so I think you could just drop the specialized in this case. In that regard, we призываем госпожу Moffaking, we invite Madam Moffaking to, and then this is a real sort of standard set phrase that you hear all the time at the UN. As in, so четко следовать веренным ее мандату полномочиям. So you could just synthesize that and just strictly abide by her mandate. I think that reflects it perfectly. If you again going to do more sort of word by word, if you wanted to really, if you were sticking close to the speaker, making your work, which can make your job harder, but anyway, you would say something like strictly abide by the powers mandated to her or entrusted to her for virionim. Again, so it depends how much of a gap you're giving to the speaker. That's going to really define how many words you use yourself. So yeah, the smooth way is to strictly abide by her mandate, full stop. The more nervous, but more also perfectly acceptable solution is to strictly abide by the powers mandated to her. Okay, so there you go. There's the first one. Let's move on to the second text now. Okay, so this is our second text then. So this was, again, statement by Russia, 46th session of the Human Rights Council interactive dialogue with a special rapporteur on the rights of правах инвалидов. Okay, we don't say invalids, okay. Persons with disabilities is what you call them. And do your best to try and get the whole thing out. And yeah, it's a real mouthful. In English, certainly. Also, don't try and go with the acronym either. PWDs. This doesn't sound very nice when you call them just PWDs. So try and say persons with disabilities. Sometimes I say disabled persons, comes out a little bit more quickly if you want. Okay. Madam President, we congratulate Mr. Gerard Cohen. I think that was his name. Again, quick little tip, again, if it's a meeting like this, dreadful sound, just skip Gerard, just say we thank Mr. Cohen. Or what if if you don't get his name, if you've forgotten his name, okay, you got to think on the spot, say, we want to congratulate the rapporteur. You can do these sorts of things, okay? Again, I'm speaking more to beginners here. What's the назначение with his appointment? Na post spetsdokladчика, so you could really just say with his appointment as special rapporteur rather than going all the way to the length of saying to the post of or to the position of. Внимательно знакомились, again, my stock solution, studied with interest. His first report. Отрадно, что сей в работе он планирует учитывать опыт, etc. Okay, отрадно, that's a useful word to know. And I've put here gratifying. So that is my sort of go-to solution for отрадно. I said here, okay, pleasing sounds yucky. It is, isn't it? It's pleasing in his work, pleasing. It sounds unctuous. I don't know, just to me. I guess you could say it, but it's pleasing. Okay, he plans to отчитывать опыт. Okay, I mean, usually we go with отчитывать. I'll often talk about, I'll use reflect on, he plans to reflect the experience or take into consideration, take account of. But I think here you could also just say to build on the experience of his predecessor on issues of an inclusive approach to invalidnosti, disability. The issue is disability. In the context, see, I like context, that's many things, of international cooperation. Okay, now then he's going to make some criticisms here. Не согласны с безапелляционным утверждением господина Коэна. So we do not agree with the sweeping. So I looked that up on Multitran, and that was one of the first solutions they gave, sweeping. Now, what I've said here in the asterisk is if you don't know the exact meaning, you need an alternative that could fit smoothly into the context. So you've got to, again, just perhaps take one step back from the text and think, okay, утверждением claims. What's a typical collocation that we use with claims when we are criticizing those claims? So I give you, e.g., unfounded or baseless, unsubstantiated. Okay, here's another one. I like baseless. I like baseless these days. Or even you could even say, nothing else comes to mind. Outrageous claims. It's a bit strong. I think outrageous is a bit on the strong side, but you could probably get away with it. If you've got nothing better, that during the COVID pandemic, к людям с инвалидностью. Okay, so yes, best thing to do here is just to turn the dative, just make it the subject of the sentence. Persons with disabilities относились как к невидимкам. Basically, so that persons with disabilities were treated as though they were invisible. Okay. Could you say it like ghosts? They were treated like ghosts? That's just suddenly occurred to me now. Because I couldn't think of one word for невидимок. And so that's why, again, paraphrasing a little bit, saying as though they were invisible. Again, also just the idea of paraphrasing. You've heard the sentence, относились как к невидимкам, and you realize, you know what it means, what he's getting at. So again, a fallback option is just to say that they were completely ignored. It's better than nothing, to say something like that. The crisis, вызванный pandemiей, triggered by the pandemic, had a severe impact on the благополучие, the well-being, I think is perhaps the best solution here, the welfare, maybe well-being of all people, but at the same time, dal толчок. So again, you hear spurred. Okay, this idea of boom. That's dal толчок. It's like to give someone a nudge, a big push. It spurred a breakthrough in the development of digital technologies and дистанционных услуг and remote services. I'm also just thinking here on dal толчок качественному развитию. Maybe you could say something like galvanized the development of digital technologies. That's a good word, galvanized. For example, so again, I've dropped the v here. For example, Russia, during the pandemic, adopted a number of measures when you turn the Rassi into the nominative, into the subject of the sentence, it gives you a bit more margin for maneuver later on in the sentence. Because what if you said, for example, in Russia during the pandemic, принято Radmir, that принято, you have to sort of play around with it then a bit, don't you? You can say I suppose you could say we adopted, or you have to wait for a number of measures were adopted. So having made Russia the subject of the sentence, then you can just turn принято Radmir. You can just make that just a regular verb. Adopt a number of measures for providing disabled persons. So here I say, do not use the acronym PWD if you can help it. PWD should be a last resort. So yes, take notes. I have heard it used. Delegates do use it sometimes even. But yeah, last resort if you're really struggling. So disabled persons were given all of their social support in full, as well as technical rehabilitation, technical rehabilitation resources. I think you could just skip it, as well as technical rehabilitation and services. Yeah, I'm just thinking you could say here, Russia provided disabled persons, here you could maybe say with a full range of social support, as well as technical rehabilitation and services without, I don't know why I've crossed the E out here. Maybe I was thinking technical rehabilitation services without личного посещения профильных структур. So we would say, I think in English, for личного посещения, not so much personal visit. I think the medical sector jargon might be in-person visits by specialized structures. So there's our friend профильные again. So here I have gone with the with specialized. Хотели бы рекомендовать эксперту. Again, this is if the sound is bad and he's going very fast. You could probably skip the хотели бы and just say we recommend to the expert in future. So yeah, I'm giving you. I think my focus here was actually imagining it was really bad sound and trying to delete. Look at every possible shortcut. That's why I've, these things like strieds, why I put the brackets there, хотели бы работе, so we recommend to the expert in future. You don't really need in future the work more or less is again implicit. Not only to critically assess states' measures, so again, принимаемые here sort of acts as the definite article, the measures adopted by states. It doesn't really add anything, so you can probably drop it. But also to objectively освещать, report on, highlight their results. So maybe the logic. If I'm trying to delete everything that could possibly be superfluous, then perhaps also достигнутые could be left out as well, just to report on their results. Okay, призываем также спецдокладчика. So we urge, like we had in the previous text, we invite, we call on the special rapporteur in future work not to forget or не забывать, not to neglect, not to ignore the need, придерживаться рамок. So here we go again, to abide by, to adhere to comply with the рамок своего мандата. Very nice word here when talking about a mandate, or the terms, okay? Sometimes they talk about it being in breach of the terms of a mandate. So, again, you could say to adhere to the framework or the context of a mandate, but I think the terms sounds best. And look, I've even put it in brackets, so you could just say to adhere by her mandate. Maybe you don't even need to say the terms if you're in a real hurry. Исследовать существующему вон разделению труда различных органов и подразделений системе ООН. And to respect the existing UN division of labor. That's something they talk about quite a bit, the UN, the division of labor, what each organ does, what each committee, what their respective purviews are, so that they don't tread on each other's toes. respect the existing division of labour between the various organs and подразделения. A safest bet here, as I say, office is a safe solution for подразделение. Otherwise, you risk getting lost talking about subdivisions, etc. Yes, I think that's maybe a mistake I made early on in my career when I heard that word подразделение. It can be a bit of first time you run into it at work, it can be a little bit intimidating. You think you're focused on that pod. I've got to turn that pod into a sub-department, subdivision. But подразделение, it's 9 times out of 10 in Russian that just goes into as just office in English. The various organs and offices in the UN system. I thank you. And there you have it. So a couple of quick texts there for you. I hope you learned some new words. I hope you learned a couple of new ideas to be going with. As I say, in this second one, focus was very much on there was a lot of shortcuts there, trying to think exactly what words could be considered redundant if you're going very fast and it's bad sound. Guys, if you've liked if you've enjoyed the episode, please, you know what to do. Give me a thumbs up. Share with your friends. Subscribe. Come on. Get me up to 900 is the next milestone. Help get me up to 900. I'm going to leave, I'm going to try and I have to dig out the audio files for these 2 texts. So I'll leave them, as always, in the description box, together with these original transcripts so that you can practice some of this at home. And that's pretty much it. Guys, this week, one last thing to say. The Interpretation Station website is going to come to life. Okay, the interpretationstation.org. It's coming out this week. I just need to press that button to make it go live. It's going to contain a whole list it's going to be a sort of compilation of everything I've done over the last year, all these texts that I've done, broken down by language combination, loads and loads of practice. For you Russian speakers, loads of material, okay? Loads of material. Please go and give it a visit later on in the week, or just bear it in mind, tell your friends about it. Lots of material to practice from. And that's it, all right? Guys, all that remains to be said is that episode 103 of the Interpretation Station stands adjourned.